it in the north side. Looking for a vibe on the Friday night shit. Ain't that right? Me and both my niggas kick it in the north side.
What's up, y'all? You are back with Kontent Kingz. You are now Semi Royalty. Episode 8. Right? Back at it again. Okay, so a lot has went down. Last week you saw us interview Dylan. This week a lot has happened since then. We had the run-in on Capitol Hill. We had James Harden get traded. And we had Kyler's first day.
Yeah, but before we go any further, just want to go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Facts.
Somebody's dropping the ball today, but
Facts.
you know, somebody got to pick up. No, just playing.
I'm Drew, by the way. I'm Drew.
It's your boy Carson. That's Khalil.
Kyler.
This is Germ.
What's up? Okay, so now we can get into it. First of all, I also forgot something else. Happy birthday to Lori Harvey. Today's her birthday.
I don't know what relevance that has with this podcast.
She's always relevant.
With the podcast?
But yeah, so Kyler, it was your first day at
With
work
the podcast.
Explain to us the relevance.
Yeah,
today.
explain.
Lori Harvey?
To the podcast.
This dude's
She's-
not listening today.
Nah, bro. Like, I don't know what's going on.
She's very relevant
To the podcast, how?
to our everyday lives.
Okay, to the podcast. Also,
how?
Is the podcast not our everyday lives?
No.
Do we not take this
not every day,
like another job?
but
I
it's
think
not
about
every
Lori
day.
Harvey every day. I don't know about y'all. I don't know about y'all. It's relevant to my life.
All right.
But yeah, tell us about your first day.
All right, I guess we're jumping straight into it. Today, I got my first nursing job. It was interesting.
Okay.
There it is.
Something light, you know. Now, in all seriousness, though, I felt like I wanted to make some money, and this opportunity came up, and I took it. To get a little bit more specific, I'm working at a COVID testing site. You know, we got the proper PPE, taking the right precautions. You know, I'm not masked up right now. Don't ask me. No, I'm just, don't ask me why I'm not. But no, yeah. I mean, is there any questions? Anything specific you guys want to hear about?
Yeah, I mean, just what goes into that. I know at my job I get tested often just because of where we are on Skid Row. But I know takes some preparation. Were you doing more? Were you testing? Were you like putting your?
Yeah.
your...
So, wait, putting my foot.
Yeah, putting the cotton swab or whatever in their noses.
Yeah.
Was that you doing?
Yeah.
You were doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, somebody else handles like processing and all that. So like they bring the people in and whatnot, and then from there, I have them follow me into this one room where basically I swab both of their nostrils, and that's pretty much it. It's not.
Do they train you on that, or do you learn that in nursing school? Since
They train us for this specifically, because like in nursing school, in nursing school I don't think we ever went over. Like,
I was asking because you were in
swabbing
nursing school
noses.
during this pandemic.
No,
so-
right. So yeah, like I'd imagine maybe now they probably do teach students like how to do it, like because of its relevance now. But at the time when I was going to school, we had no type of. This is how you swab somebody's nose, you know.
Right.
And also, I feel like it's a lot of things that you learn outside of nursing school when you're actually out in the field. Like hospitals train you, and I mean more of it is the hospital wants to train you to do things the way they want you to do it.
Up to their
So,
standard.
Yeah.
And where are you located at?
It's kind of
Personal.
yeah. Don't nobody visit me, but I was out in Orange County,
Okay.
so it was interesting. I mean, it was a good diverse group of people.
Okay.
It wasn't just a bunch of I'll just say it wasn't a bunch of just Trump supporters. It was some, you know, some families and whatnot. It was some people who looked pretty concerned too.
Yeah.
So it kind of hit home. I was like, dang, I can only imagine how worried they are and like scared they are. Like okay. So this is the story I gotta tell. There was this one kid today. I don't think this is HIPAA. I don't think I'm violating HIPAA, but basically, yeah, exactly. Like it's nothing to identify him with. It was this kid that came in, and he was just super scared, bro. Like he did
To
not.
get his nose tickled.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I try to break it down to him in so many different ways. Like, look, I showed him the tip of the cotton swab, and I was like, look, like this is all that's got to go in. It's not the whole thing. He's like, is there needles? I was like, no. Like in my head though, really, I'm like, do you see a needle?
Yeah.
You know. And then he was just super scared, and then it got to the point to where like his mom was like, "Look, we're just gonna have to hold him down on the floor." Yeah, like she said that, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing that.
You didn't sign up for that.
But yeah, and then like there was a time where he was like, okay, like let's do it, and then like as soon as like I was like about to start doing it, he was like, oh no, wait, like I'm not ready, and I'm like, all right, bro, like we got to get this. You're not the only one here trying to get tested.
How old was he?
I don't know how old he was.
HIPAA.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm really, I'm
It-
not
okay.
saying a lot right now.
No, I want you to react though after I finish, because I like the whole time it was happening at work, I was like, look, whether it's on the podcast or not, I gotta tell you guys about this. Cause,
No, yeah,
man,
that's. I could like I would have. I don't know what I would have did. I don't know what I would have did in that situation, man. But I know sometimes, and you were probably more gentle than some of the tests I got. They really just stick it up in there.
yeah, because some of the people I was testing, they're like, whoa, like you did a lot better, because other places I've been, they just jam it right up there, don't say a word, and I'm
Got a
like,
soft touch.
bro, that's kind of weird.
I've been
Yeah.
tested 3 times, and every time I'm the one that does it. Like they hand you the stuff.
Yeah,
you
I've
do
seen
it,
that
and
too.
you put it
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
So I couldn't relate.
Like that's fine too, but like for somebody to do something like pick your nose practically and not say a word to you, like that's
Yeah.
kind of weird, bro. Like say
Yeah.
something to me.
I've had all types. I had the ones from your nose, the one
And it goes
where
all the
you
way
do
to
it-
the back of your
yeah,
throat. Yeah.
I've had that one. That's the most recent one I got. Like she just kept on going and going and going. I got one where it's just like a little tickle. Then I got the mouth one, and that one was pretty crazy.
You like the mouth one?
Nah, that was probably the worst one. That was probably the worst one, to be honest with you. I thought it was just gonna be on the cheek like Carson said he got
Okay.
his. But nah, they were trying to tickle something in the back. I wasn't.
What is that called?
The oral test.
No.
Ooh, the oral test.
That's what it's called.
You passed?
No. What are they tickling in the back?
It's the
The
dangly
uvula.
thing that hangs in the back
The
of your
what?
throat.
The uvula.
Okay.
Is that not it?
It's a
Yeah.
What's up?
I know it's it. I got a degree. What the fuck you talk about? What is it?
It's just, I think it's just different testing, like different ways of testing. I was gonna say I'm pretty sure there's some that are more accurate than others and whatnot, but you know, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, that kid, man, like his mom was like, "Look, I'm gonna give you the count of 3," and low key when she said that, I was like,
I'm
"You
doing
better
that
give."
too.
No, in my head, I was like, "You better make sure it's just 1 to the count of 3, because if you're counting multiple times, it's not just 3, lady."
Mhm.
To be fair, I mean, she did count multiple times, but I didn't say anything, of course. But I mean, I can say this. It came to the point where in my head I was like, "Look, I'm about to just pull your mask down and just do this thing, because you are taking too like." In comparison, it was another kid that came in like shortly after him, and it took probably like 30 seconds a minute. Like normally it only takes
It
like
should
30
be that
seconds.
easy.
Yeah,
It should be that easy.
but this kid was in there for like a minimum 5 minutes. And it was just him crying like about how he doesn't want anything going up his nose.
So how did you actually end it? Did you have to really just stick it up his nose without him really
No,
consenting?
like eventually he just gave in. Like I don't know what it was. His mom might have gave him a look while I wasn't looking. Like I don't know
Okay.
what it was, but he eventually was just like okay. And then when I was doing it into one nostril, like he relaxed and he's like, oh okay. But like, bruh, I kid you not, he was like, oh it's gonna hurt. Like I know it's gonna hurt, and I was like, I
It's got
don't
tough
know,
enough.
I don't know what to tell you, bro.
I think speaking of like COVID, I think I'm able to get my vaccinations for my job.
That's cool. Yeah, if you can get vaccinated, why
So
not?
I'll probably have to do that paperwork. I got the email. I gotta do some
Yeah.
stuff.
But don't think you're immune just because you get vaccinated. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you can still spread it.
Doesn't it take a few weeks to kick in too?
Yeah.
You have to get
Like
two
they
different
tell people
vaccinations,
like
right?
95% blah blah blah. Like
I'm at
you,
5.
like you have to hit that 95% until like you are less likely to spread it or not. But you can still spread it. You know what I mean? Like you
Mhm.
just won't get hit as hard.
I feel that.
Because it was some people today that I tested that had the vaccine already.
Interesting. And you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. By the way, if you see us, if you're watching this on YouTube and you see us looking like away from
Past
the
you.
camera, past the camera, if we have the game on. Clippers and Pelicans are playing.
Yeah, don't ever say the game again. Clippers and Pelicans, that's not the game. If it's not the Lakers, it's not the game, bro.
That's valid. I'll
That's
give you
all,
that
that's
one.
all I'm saying.
That's on me.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was Drew's Clipper ties, but don't bring that around here.
He's an op, bro. That's why.
Well,
That's- yeah.
in my
that's-
defense, I did say what game it was after. So,
but it's not the game.
Yeah, I'll give
That's
you
all
that.
I'm saying. Yeah, speaking of the NBA,
Yeah, man. What do you guys think about today's trade?
It's gonna be a whole lot of buckets in Brooklyn. I'll tell you that.
What exactly was today's trade?
So yeah, if you guys don't know, in the NBA, James Harden acted like a little coon magoon and got traded for the Rockets to the Brooklyn Nets to team up with Kevin Durant, who's a beast within his own right, and then
Durantula.
Kyrie Irving, who's also a beast.
Did he
So-
really team up with Kyrie?
Where is Kyrie?
I mean,
Where's
we'll see.
Kyrie?
We'll see. Kyrie's MIA right now, personal reason. It's a drama show out here for the NBA this year. It's pretty crazy. What do you guys think about the trade, though?
Lakers in 7. That's what I think.
Lakers in 5. Lakers in 4.
About the trade, actually, I think it was a good trade. Personally, I mean, the Rockets got back, I think, more than enough for one player,
Mm-hmm.
and the Nets didn't really give up anybody compared to what we saw they were gonna have to give up. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think it worked on both ends. And the other accessory players like Karis LeVert going to the Pacers, probably going to be one of the prominent stars now.
Yeah.
And sucks for Jared Allen. He went to Cleveland, but he's only 22, so he got a long way.
Yeah, but actually, it's almost going to be – I think it works for Jared Allen, too, because he's going to get the bag there. Cleveland will definitely sign him to a big deal.
I don't know. They still got Drummond, who's a free agent. And he opted in. He could have left easily. I mean, he clearly likes the
Wait, so
Cavs.
he opted in, so this isn't his last year there?
No, this is his last year, but I'm saying he likes it enough where he felt the money was good enough to play instead of being a free agent this past summer.
I'm going to go on a limb and think that he opted in the same way Melo opted in that 1 year. It's not that they really wanted to stay there. They just know that's where the most money was going to be at if they opted in.
I was going to say, how do you think they fit? Like, being traded to Cleveland, do you really think he's
Disrespect.
happy about that?
I think if you're young, you're happy about it because the whole team is young.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it gives you ability to grow and then also get like big payments because no one's really on the books like that in
I
Cleveland.
feel that.
So if you ball out, you can get a max contract there pretty easily.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So anyone above the age of 24, that's disrespect. Like Drummond, Kevin Love, both being there is disrespectful.
They got to go.
JaVale McGee, same way.
Do you think that's as disrespectful as the I don't even remember who those players were. That's how irrelevant they were. Who are the two Laker pickups? Luol Deng and
Oh,
Timothy
Moscow.
yeah, I feel like that was disrespectful.
I
Just
mean,
saying.
it was disrespectful for our GM to sign him, but players just making money. You know what I mean? Like I'm only mad at the GM for that one.
Yeah, I mean it's in the past, so
But
it is what it is.
Carson, you wanna take this one? We're talking about Capitol Hill.
Yeah. We are about a week removed from a violent insurrection at the United States Capitol, which is, I mean, with everything that we've seen in the last few years, it still blows my mind that we just witnessed this. And frankly, it's active domestic terrorism, and that needs to be said. I mean, I can get into what I think of it, but what were you guys' initial thoughts when you caught wind of that?
I was at work, so I took a quick little break, looked at my phone, and I said, wow, what's going on right now? And obviously, I got you guys to kind of put me on game when I'm not able to be looking at things, but I was kind of shocked. My initial thoughts weren't to think, why weren't they treated the same way as BLM protesters? My initial thoughts is like, they really did it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they say that's like one of the most secure places on earth. And the fact that, I mean, however you see it, whether they were let in, actually got it or whatnot, they did it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my first initial thoughts about it.
Right. What about you, Drew?
I was just impressed by the organization of it all. Like I thought it was kind of crazy, but like in a genius way. The fact that all these people agreed of doing something so historic, right? Like it almost was like they were from what I saw, it was like a single file line just walking into the White House. Like it wasn't as chaotic as it looked. It really wasn't as chaotic as we're talking about it. Like yeah they rushed, but they really just walked their way right in
But
there.
that's what we saw too, though.
Yeah, I can only see what I saw, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm just like, wow, that's whoever organized this.
Yeah.
Really
What I
thought about
saw-
it, right? Like even down to the day, like okay, who's gonna be guarding that day? What are the
Right.
rules if we were to do this? Like there's a lot of research to where they just knew, like if we all walk in, they can't stop us, and that's just I wouldn't have.
I don't
Not
think
that
they
far.
had that mindset, though.
Well, I mean, I don't know as many of the details, but there's reports that some Republican members of Congress helped them organize, right? Which is like an entirely different level of, I don't have the word to describe it, but just think about that for a second. Like, not only are these white supremacists violently destroying like Capitol building, but they had help from the inside. What does that say about who we have representing us in Congress? What do you mean? What were your thoughts, Kyler? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, again, from what I saw, it did look super organized. It was crazy. Like, it looked like it was a tour.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, people were just really walking around like, oh yeah, this is that, and then it looked like, okay, so it looked, the way they went in made it look like it was a tour, but the way they were going throughout looked like they were like some burglars or something. Like they were just looking around, like trying to see what they could find.
Right.
And then some people it seemed like some people knew, how to navigate and where to go, and they knew exactly what they were looking for, and it was just crazy.
Representative Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts said that they ripped out the emergency signals in her office, right? So, they knew what they were doing. They knew where they were going. They went straight to Pelosi's office, took over her stuff, stole her podium. AOC said she felt like she was going to be assassinated, right? Like, many members of Congress were in lockdown the entire day. I mean, I know this question has been asked, but you have to say it again. Can you imagine any other demographic doing that? And you can't, because you know how it would end. It wouldn't have ever started.
Yeah,
and I think
would not gotten to that point.
That's the part that is pretty upsetting when you realize the double standard and seeing the looks on their faces while doing it. It's disgusting and it's disappointing.
Do you think this actually woke people up who still continue to have a blind eye to what we've been talking about?
I mean, I would hope so. I think if anyone wasn't aware, I was going back and forth between I can't believe this is happening, but also it's exactly what you would expect if you look at the different things they've done, right? Like, Kyle Rittenhouse goes and kills Black Lives Matter protesters. There was a dude that shot up some people back in Tennessee like a week prior, right? Like, every step of the way, the violence is always there. And if you weren't aware of that, I hope that you now are, and that you understand the threat of white supremacy in this country when it goes unchecked and when there's no accountability. And I also read reports today that many of the people that were involved, outside of regular citizens, many of them were state legislators. They were lawmakers, law enforcement officers, right? So these are white supremacists are not like just stupid racist hillbillies, right? Like, they are regular people in professions that we engage with every day, and we need power,
not just professions, but people who are really high in power.
Yeah, and we need to contend with that. We need to really recognize what that means, and it's also important that I'll let you guys speak on it, but it's important that we recognize this wasn't an accident, nor was it random. I mean, there's people on social media saying, January 6th, Civil War, we're coming, right? Donald Trump even said January 6th, like,
be there or be square or something.
You know what I mean? So not only is it like scary that it happened, but that it was supported and brought on by the person in with the most power in the world. And recognizing that fact and the fact that over 70 million people voted for that ideology, even after January 20th when Biden's inaugurated, that's not going anywhere. And that's the reality of the country that we live in, and we have to work to root that out at every level.
No, yeah, I just think it's I think for some people it did open their eyes. As you can see, like, some of the Republicans were even now, I don't know if it's even genuine, but just for the fact that it was such
So that's my point. I meant it in like a genuine way.
I mean, yeah, I think some people who were just like, nah, Trump just saying what he wants to feel, this and the other, is starting to see the actual, results of his words. I had a friend who said he was glad that this type of thing happened because it gave more evidence to show that, like, you really have to be careful of what you say when you're in high power of influence, like the presidency, because people do follow what you say, and not just when you're the president, but any person who's of importance to regular people who may not be famous. You have to really watch what you say because you could cause anarchy, So I think in a large scheme of things, people at the end are gonna change how they speak and really think more, because you don't want anyone really dying over this. So that's what I think.
Yeah. Jerm, did you have any thoughts on it?
I do. When I saw it, like Kyler, you're saying the shit just looked like they were taking a tour. So the first question I had in my mind was like, dude, where the fuck is law enforcement?
Yeah.
Like they're gonna from the time that they went through the first barricade, let alone the door. Like there's nobody like, hey, like we gotta get more people in here.
Yeah, no,
This
they
and
had
that.
the whole day just to do what they wanted for the
Exactly.
most part. Yeah.
Exactly.
What did they say about the National Guard? They asked for him, and Trump didn't even bother calling him or something like that.
Yeah, now they're sleeping on the floor in Capitol Hill
Right.
inside the building. Like, where were they before? Like nobody called nobody, which is crazy to me.
Yeah. It makes you think about when the laws are enforced and on who. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The job description for law enforcement doesn't change, but you see what happens when it's different demographics involved.
And then
That's sad.
sadly, you know, because of the Twitter world that we live in now, it made a tragedy funny, like extremely funny. And it's sad that it's like that when people are, you know, we're laughing at ourselves, which I guess in some ways is therapeutic, but it kind of desensitizes us to how serious
Like what's really going on?
that, you know, like
Yeah.
as opposed to watching the news, people are on Twitter looking at the jokes,
Yeah.
right? But like, no, people are actually dying, people are in danger. We can laugh, but it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's like we have to deal with this, you know, because we don't really want another civil war or anything like that, and that's what's becoming.
It's just at the end of the day, it's still shocking that it really happened. Like Khalil said, like it really happened, bro.
Yeah. I mean, they had a statement they wanted to make, and they made it. And I think it's important that we recognize the timing of it, because the day prior to that, the Georgia Senate seats were flipped, largely due to the work of young people and black organizers and black voters and black women across the state of Georgia.
Shout out Stacey Abrams.
Shout out to Stacey Abrams, and to every organization that had a hand in that. And I think it's no accident they chose to do it the very next day. What that represented, what that historic win represented, was a shift of power, right? And anytime you take power away from the group that holds it, whether directly or indirectly, there's a reaction, right? It's the same way when Obama was elected, they had this huge backlash and a ton of hate crimes increased. When Trump gets in there, you see the violence that ensued, and then when now their power is threatened, they react that way. And I just wanted to say that because, like I said, the voters and the organizers, largely black people and black women, deserve their praise for that. Raphael Warnock, the new senator from Georgia, is the grandson of cotton pickers, right? We need to say that out loud, and recognize the significance of the moment, and we can't let white supremacism overshadow what that means.
Excellent.
I'm just saying
that was beautifully said.
That's spoken very well.
You must be with
So I mean,
me.
yeah, I guess those would be some positives to take out of everything that's been going on in the political realm, I guess.
Yeah, that's about all we got right now. We still have work to do, but you know, recognize the change is possible, and we have real tangible examples of that, and we have to just continue fighting back, and don't get caught up in these calls for unity with people that want to see you suffer and die, because there's no way to unite with fascists. If we're going to be uniting around anything, it's the goal to root out the hate that's in their hearts and unseat them from the seats of power. So that's all I have to say, man. I'm in shock like you all are. But
I have a question. So we're obviously recording after what happened in Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
So today, Trump officially got impeached twice. He's the first president to get impeached twice in one term. Can you kind of explain to the audience what that means going forward?
And if it's a real impeachment or like a play impeachment like the last time?
I mean, I think by your question, you're saying, does this mean he's going to be out of office, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
So in the short term, nothing. He's going to be the president until Joe Biden's inaugurated. But it's significant. It's the first time in history it's ever happened, first of all. But it's very strategic the way they did this, because by having him impeached twice, and also in a situation where many Republicans are now turning on him, whether it's genuine or not, Mitch McConnell, the most powerful Republican in Congress, is now basically distancing himself from Trump. And you could argue that he's doing that for the political future of the Republican Party, which he is. I have no confidence in Mitch McConnell having integrity. But what that signals is that it's now politically safe for Republicans to distance themselves from Trump for the first time in the last several years. So by having him impeached twice, the House has already officially filed that. It goes on to the Senate. If the Senate, whether it's next week, 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, when they decide to hold their trial and they actually vote on his impeachment, if you get 2/3 majority and you get, I think the number is 17 Republicans, there's 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans. If you get 17 of the Republicans, assuming the Democrats all vote together, that means that he's now convicted. And what that means is he can no longer hold federal office. And that's important because there's already reports Trump is considering rerunning in 2024. The flip side of that, though, if, for example, there's constitutional law experts who question whether you can actually impeach a former president because he's not sitting in the office. If that's the case, he can then be criminally held accountable in court as a private citizen. So I don't think there's really a way out for him. It's just a matter of which direction they go.
I don't think he would be president anyway, because he already got way too many law suits to worry about as soon as he step out of office. That he might be gone for a couple lifetimes.
I wanna agree with you, but he seems to always avoid accountability throughout his entire career.
but
It's just a long trip to Cancun or something.
Money talks.
Y'all thinking of pre-presidency. Now we've seen literally everything he can do, and we see
That's
how people
fair.
are flipping on him. So I mean,
Right.
it's no way you can keep getting away with stuff after you've shown your ass to the entire world.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, what we need now is a 2/3 House majority whip.
Shout out
Nah,
to House
but,
of Cards.
Jeremy had a question?
I think you answered it, but all right. So since it passed in the House,
Mhm.
it has to go through the Senate. Like, there's no way between this, like, throughout this process that it'll. There's no chance it'll get voided at
Yeah.
all.
I don't want to speak in like 100% certainty, but as far as what I've read, it's gonna come to the Senate. It's a matter
Okay.
of when.
Okay.
Mitch McConnell controls the schedule of the votes, what comes to the floor and when. And he's already said privately and publicly, but more privately, that he's not going to bring it to vote this week. Because there was people on the Democratic side that were pretty much like, hey, can we get this done? Can we get him removed from office before the inauguration? Just hold him fully accountable for that. And Mitch McConnell's pretty much like, look, I support impeachment. I think what he's done is impeachable. We're not doing it this fast. He doesn't think it's feasible.
So then they're gonna leave it to the Senate, which eventually is gonna be Democrat driven.
Mm-hmm. After next, what's today's date?
Today's the
That's the
13th, so
13th.
8 more days.
A week from today.
So it's an automatic impeachment.
But it's possible they can just drag it out to where he leaves on his own, right?
Can he do that?
I mean, because inauguration is coming up soon, if I understand right. So
The
they could
20th
just kind
or
of drag
21st.
it, which,
Until the 20th.
I mean, drag it and be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter now because he's already not the president anymore, and just kind of drop it.
That's what he was saying. I
Yeah.
mean,
What's
But we want to do that so he doesn't run in 2024.
right?
yeah, he was saying no matter when it is, if it's tomorrow, next week, or even after when Joe Biden's in, it still has to go
Oh, it
through.
still has to go through.
Through
That's
the
what he was
Senate.
saying.
Yeah.
As far as I
Question.
understand, I mean, I can double check my sources on that. But everything I've read suggests it will come for a vote. But I also think there's a possibility that we don't get those 2/3 and they basically acquit him again, which would be the same result that happened last time. But even if that happens, like I said, I do believe there's a possibility for Trump to be held accountable in court as a private citizen for the crimes he's been involved in. So, it may not be as satisfying to really feel that he was impeached and he's convicted and he can never run again. But there's going to be some type of accountability one way or another, and we should recognize the history of that as well. You're welcome, King.
No, yeah, that was good. I think it's
No,
just
that's why I'm
important,
Trying to keep you warm.
Carson, that you talk about that and that we all just understand, everyone who's listening, the inequality in the world and just really talk about it. I think that's the first way of really getting people to be on the same page, is to recognize the fact that not every person of color could have done what was done at Capitol Hill and get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think most people these days are aware of what white privilege is. But if you're not, last week is a prime example of what that is. It's the double standard that exists that allows white people to do all kinds of things and not be held
Get away
accountable,
with it. Yep.
whereas other demographics would have had bullets go through their chest.
So crazy.
Yeah, and I think a part of why that's still going on is because of what you said of people on the inside who are
In positions of
in
power.
positions of power to protect people like that at all times. So I mean, stuff that like happened in Georgia, is good signs of those
Change.
type of things changing. Because I remember in one of our earlier episodes, you said that was a long shot. Like you were like, it could happen, but it probably won't happen.
Yeah.
And it happened. So, yeah, I mean, even though it was a dark time in history last week, I still see some good signs
Yeah.
of what's going on.
And it's important that we recognize, like, there's still work to do. You know, we're still going through arguably the worst of a pandemic. We're still going through an economic recession. You know, there's a lot of problems, and we should remain vigilant and active and continue following what's going on, because just because we voted in a new president and now the Democrats have power, you know, a lot of problems existed before Trump and will continue to exist. So we just have to keep staying engaged, keep following the news as best you can, and push on those in power to do what is best for the community that you live in.
All right. Sorry, not to put you on the spot, Carson, but all right. So Joe Biden gets inaugurated. What do you think is or should be the first on his list?
For like first 100 days, right? Isn't that it?
Mhm.
Yeah. What? Unless you said it already, but what do you think?
Vaccines. Get them out as fast as possible. We had, I think it was 2 major vaccines, right, that were approved and were ready to basically be distributed. And then it seems like the Trump administration kind of fumbled the bag, I guess, if you will, in terms of like the plan. So how vaccines get distributed to people, who gets them and when, looks different in like every county. I feel like
It
some
does.
some states are doing great, some aren't. And
I've seen overall hasn't been a good rollout.
yeah, you're right. It hasn't. There's articles about the confusion of it, and then you have a lot of local counties that are put on the spot. It's like, oh, we're leaving it up to you, and it's like, well, we're already struggling with the pandemic as it is. What do you want us to do? We're out of hospital
Right.
beds. So Joe Biden should do, and I don't know the answer to this. I'm not a public health expert, but to the extent that he can use the full power of the federal government to give the funding and the resources to the communities to get them out faster, I think will help us get to a point where we can really fight this off.
So, with that being said, what would you guys say is worse? Or what would you guys say was worse? The rollout of the vaccines or the rollout of the next gen consoles?
Mhm.
I don't even know. I haven't even tried to get my hands on a vaccine yet, so I'm gonna definitely say the Xbox because I have experience.
I second that.
That's so funny.
They fumbled.
I had to ask, you know?
I mean, it's a legit.
No,
question.
it is. In my experience, I would say it was easier getting the vaccine just for the fact that the vaccine is in my lap now. Like I'm getting asked to take it, but that's just because of where my position is in my job.
But okay,
In reality, I would say that it's probably harder.
It's not even proper. In
It's
reality,
probably
it's,
neck and neck.
it's definitely
It's
vaccine.
definitely hard to get the vaccine, you know. But yeah, that's funny.
because at the time you weren't really looking to get the vaccine. So imagine if you were looking to get it and you just weren't
Gonna
able
get it?
to.
Nah, yeah, they are stingy about that. And then they're saying, I don't know if this is true. I heard this, but you can't even go, like your doctor to get the vaccine. You have to go to these certain type of places to get the vaccine.
I don't know
That's-
logistics.
I can see
neither.
that because it would be not all doctors' offices are getting the vaccine. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you got to go to specific places to get them.
Yeah.
I mean, I want my doctor to.
I have a
do
question.
that.
I get that.
don't know. Yeah.
Since you might know a little bit of this because you're a nurse. So I saw something today that people 65 and up are going to be the first people to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Why is that the case?
I haven't heard that, but I could
Because
definitely.
they're older. If we're looking in the future, you wouldn't want the younger people.
I
And
get you.
I'm seeing just to correlate because how I'm thinking. I saw something that since people are living longer, it's kind of messing up the balance of things. 'Cause you need more food. People are getting older, so
I
ideology.
mean, it's a
things
good
like
So are
point.
you saying?
It's a good point
No, I'm
because
not.
people
I'm
are
legit asking the
let
question.
these old niggas
I get it.
die?
No, I get it though because
Focus
okay,
on us.
let's look at it from like a
Like
biological
kids, like
standpoint.
my brother who's 13 should probably get it before someone who's
Like
70.
looking at it from a biological standpoint, I get what Khalil's saying because it's like survival of the fittest. Like back then, before we had vaccines, yeah, whoever can't withstand the vaccine is about to pass away, basically, you know. But to answer your question, there's a few things in mind. One of them is the older population is more susceptible
That's important. That's
to-
extremely important.
is more susceptible to
Right.
contracting COVID. A lot of the times there's people 65 and over who are living in like elderly homes and whatnot. So they're more compacted and whatnot. So that would be a priority. More specifically, in terms of age, people who are of older age have basically a poor what's the word? I don't know why I can't think of the word
Immune
right now.
system.
Not that well, yeah, that, but also like the likelihood of them being able to survive actually going through like recovering from COVID is like their mortality. The mortality rates for the older population is higher than it is for the younger generations. Like I know people who've had COVID that are younger and like, maybe they had a cough and whatnot. Some people, it might have been worse, like, felt like they couldn't breathe and whatnot. But then if you compare that to that, like if you compare stuff like that compared to what an older person might go through, some older people might have trouble breathing just walking down a flight of stairs or up a flight of stairs. So imagine that plus having COVID, like it'd be damn near impossible for them to live. Yeah. So really, I imagine the reason being behind that is that the older population is less likely to survive being like severely ill with COVID.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I gave like a whole runaround,
that was pretty. I would have said something the same thing in like 2 sentences. So,
you're a nurse, right?
Now I am actually. I guess
And that probably decreased the amount of people going to the hospital.
Facts.
Yeah,
that's an important.
That's a
thing
big
too.
problem right now. Is that it's not a lot of space in hospitals right now.
I read a statistic today, and I shared on my Facebook. In LA County, every 8 minutes, somebody's dying from COVID-19.
Oh yeah,
which just puts in perspective how bad it is. So
you did share that with us. I mean, it's crazy because, I mean, it might be kind of irrelevant to other people or seemingly irrelevant, but recently Gavin Newsom took away the nurse ratios. So like nurse to patient ratios have decreased, or I guess increased. Like nurses are having more patients. Like somebody was telling me, like somebody I went to school with was telling me that when they started working, they had 17 patients.
Yeah,
which is like what?
They're throwing you in the fire.
And it's like,
at that point,
that was somebody who just recently graduated. Like normally they don't do that. And then I could imagine like they probably have new nurses admitting people and discharging people and whatnot, which is something that usually doesn't happen. Like usually some people have told me like it's taken them like up to 18 weeks for the hospital to say, all right, look, we're going to have you admit somebody. Like it's certain things that you still have to be trained on. Like I said, it's things that you don't necessarily learn in nursing school that you have to learn while you're working, or, have training prior to working, but from the hospital or from whatever organization company you're working for.
And unfortunately, when that happens, when it's 17-1 like that, you're not going to be able to save every person.
Exactly. Like you're not giving the proper quality of care. Equipment is definitely scarce. Like I imagine, or actually somebody told me that, it's supplies being stolen like out of their patient rooms. So it's like, what? Like he told me that he set up meds for his patient and maybe like 5-10 minutes later comes back, checks on the patient, and the whole like IV pole is gone.
Probably went to some other patient that
exactly.
That
and it's like what?
I mean,
like
how do you triage that? How do you like who?
In a way that they're stopping that is they're giving it to the older people, because those are the ones who are really in the hospitals who's fighting life or death.
Right.
If me and you catch it, I might just need to stay home for 2 weeks and I'm good.
Yeah. A lot of people that do catch it that are younger, like they're telling them, you know what, like you're just gonna have to fight it at home.
Yeah,
like
let your body fight it out.
If it gets really bad, yeah, go to the hospital. But I mean, odds are you'll be waiting forever. You won't be able to get a bed. You can leave it. It's fine. You won't be able to get a bed or whatever. And then even if you were to get a bed, like what they're telling people, or okay, so what I've heard somebody tell me that has gotten COVID recently, that I haven't been in contact with them or like direct contact with them, but they've told me that they got COVID and their doctor said, like you're just gonna have to stick it out at home. Like to be honest, you'll probably be more comfortable at home because you'll be in your own bed. You probably won't get as much attention in the hospital as you would at home by like your family or whatnot. And if it gets worse and you feel like you can't take it anymore, call an ambulance, because if you just go into the ER, you'll be sitting on the chair for quite a while. And if you do call the ambulance, what they're going to do is they're going to take you and intubate you. And basically that's when they stick a tube down your throat and have that breathe for you. And so it's like, for those who don't know, usually when somebody gets intubated, it's not looking well for them at all. And it's I mean, yeah, people can recover from it, but it's a lot of people who don't. So, I mean, it's just crazy to think that the amount of people catching it and whatnot is really affecting, like, basically everybody's odds of survival. Because then it's like, okay, if it's up to me to decide if I have to have a COVID patient live versus somebody who, say, got hit by a car or something, it's like, how do I make that decision?
You shouldn't have to.
Why don't we go on lockdown?
I mean,
Money talks.
it's tough.
Money. We need money.
That's
Jerem
the
asked
logic.
why, if that's the case, why don't we go back into lockdown? And it's tough because we've seen kind of what the lockdown has done. We've seen what it hasn't done. Like
It worked.
it's worked, but also at the end of the day, people gotta make the conscious decision to lock themselves in. You know what I mean?
Like
It's
it's clear
people.
no one can do it because it's just too free of a country.
That's why, like, you have to really be able to enforce it. And it's
Technically, we
like,
still are on lockdown. Like nothing's really open out here.
yeah, but think about it this way, like,
I don't see much of a difference, honestly.
That's what
like,
we're saying.
Exactly,
It's
like
like
it's not being
Unless
enforced
the
the way it
marshals
should
out
be.
here, it's really not gonna matter for a lot of people.
It's that half lockdown, right? Like, oh, don't go out, but we have takeout.
That's what I'm saying. But that
We-
full
you know?
lockdown when we first started, that still worked. And that's what I'm saying, dude. This half
Yeah.
lockdown, the only thing that's not open is dining in and gyms.
Yeah.
Everything else is open.
Well, I
Yeah.
think some states stepped up and did it, but others didn't, right? Like, I think a lot of states in middle America just didn't bother. And until we have a full national one, or those states decide to change their mind, for every one person that's locked down, staying home, wearing a mask out here, I feel like there's 2 or 3 that aren't. And there's a movement right now to recall our governor, Gavin Newsom, because he's imposed lockdowns, and they feel like he's hurting businesses and working families on purpose. But it's like, what else are you gonna do? This virus is out of control, and it's become like political suicide for our government leaders to be in support of that, but they leave them no option.
Yeah, it's just weird because not only is it like a legal debate or a legal like concept to kind of wrap your head around, but it's also in terms of morals. You know what I mean? Because it's like, do you sacrifice? You know, do you make the sacrifice for the greater good of like the collective? You know what I mean? Or do you just let people do what they want to do? You know what I mean? And it's tough because at the end of the day, you can't control people, but it's like we kind of have to spread that mindset of people wanting to be selfless and, you know, doing what they have to do and being responsible enough to say, you know what, if I do this, it's going to help out so many other people. Like, it's not tough.
But that's the thing. It's the culture, right? I mean, the people that aren't wearing masks, aren't staying home, and are opposed to all that, they're proud of it. Like, they feel like they're patriots. They're brave. Like, they're stepping back against, you know, a government that's trying to oppress them. And it's like, if we could all cooperate. Someone compared it, I'm sure you guys have seen on social media, they compared it to like when you're in grade school, and if your class cooperates or whatever, you get the pizza party, but we can never get the pizza party because no one in the class wants to cooperate. It's the same thing.
That was the
That's-
worst.
It's
You know what I
crazy because
mean?
that's a
That
really
was the
good comparison, though.
worst.
That's how it feels. We could have had our pizza, but now we're struggling.
Because you want to be selfish.
Because you want to act up.
Man.
Shout out to healthcare workers, man, and frontline workers everywhere.
No, facts. Well, all right. That was a good episode. Carson, we appreciate you coming in and sharing your political views. Kyler coming in.
Political
your,
info.
Your
Really.
nursing experience. Germ, Khalil, and myself with our sports background, our heavy sports knowledge background, doing our thing. We all brought something to the table today, fellas.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So this is Kontent Kingz. Thanks for rocking with us, and that's a wrap.
My
Hope you
niggas
enjoyed it.
kick it in the north side, looking for a vibe on a Friday night. Shit, ain't that right? Me and both my niggas kick it in the north side, looking for a vibe on a Friday night. Shit, ain't that right? Me and both my niggas kick it in the north side, looking for a vibe on a Friday night. Shit, ain't that right?